Good morning to you from outside my local hospital. I hope you can make out the words behind me. James Paget University Hospital, NHS Foundation Trust. And it's the word trust that really struck me. And a couple of weeks ago in my Wednesday Bible study, we spoke about trust and the importance of it. And when I get back to the car, I'll share the message that I shared with the Bible study that morning. Yes, a few weeks ago in my Bible study group, which we have on a Wednesday, I shared this message, and it starts with a little story. And trust, I think, is probably the most important thing in our Christian life, and probably sometimes one of the hardest things to do. And there's a story that I'd like to share with you here. That's quite a little interesting one. 10 years ago, I adopted my dog Rudy from a shelter, just days before they were going to euthanize him. And we've had a special bond ever since. As a single woman in her 50s, I've found his companionship really meaningful. We have a lot of rituals together. For instance, every night we have a little bedtime snack, and then I get in my bed and he gets in his doggy bed right next to mine. But a year ago, suddenly Rudy didn't want to do the routine. Every night when I got in bed, he'd jump up on my bed and start licking my face, even though he knows he's not supposed to. I'd get mad and make him get off, but the next night he'd do it again. Soon he was jumping on my lap to lick my face every time I sat down. I was considering taking him to obedience school, when it suddenly dawned on me that he was licking the same spot on my jaw over and over again. I felt my jaw and it seemed okay, and I didn't have any pain. But it was so out of character for my dog that I just decided to trust him. I made an appointment with a doctor and felt silly telling her why I came, but she agreed to do some tests. Well, it turns out that I had osteocarcinoma, bone cancer, with a tumor in my jaw. It couldn't be felt from the outside, but somehow Rudy knew it was there. I just finished chemo and radiation and I'm doing much better now. But the doctor said that if I'd waited until the tumor was big enough to be felt, it's likely that it would have been fatal. I saved my dog's life and now he saved mine. We know what dogs are like, don't we? We know we can often trust in an animal, sometimes just to give us love, sometimes when we felt let down by human beings. But the important thing is that we have somebody that we know will never let us down. And he knows the inside of us like we could never know it. I'm about to go into the hospital, actually, to have my blood tested. As many of you know that watch me, I've had ankle trouble now for quite a number of months, which has swollen up, and now I've got a blood clot in my calf, which means me taking what they call rat poison. It's a medicine called warfarin. I'm not keen on taking medicines. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who will tell me not to take the stuff. But at the moment, I suppose through the Lord, I'm putting my trust in these medicines to an extent, though I believe that if they don't work, my Lord will work anyway. And that's the important thing, is to not be anxious, not to be anxious about whatever treatment you're about to face. Sometimes treatments can destroy you more than the illness itself. But whatever, one way or the other, we put our trust in God. And I found 4 Hebrew words that refer to trust, and I thought they were quite interesting. The one is chazah, which means to lean on. I lean on the Lord. I don't put all my weight just on my own feet. I can just lean on him and know that he's going to support me. Another Hebrew word is betach, to cling to. I cling to the Lord. I don't just lean on him, but I hold on tight to him, and knowing that I won't lose my grip, because he's a firm rock and foundation to hold on to. The third Hebrew word is yachal, and it means to hope and to know. Hope with a knowing. That's really what it's trying to get across. So that, yes, I hope, and I know that God won't let me down. He may use these doctors, he may not. But either way, I can put my trust in him. And the fourth Hebrew word is aman, which means to be firm. To be firm. Holding firmly, holding tightly, leaning onto him, clinging to him, and hoping with a knowledge that he's going to take me through whatever I must go through. I wrote a statement down at the time I did this Bible study, and it's this: anxiety only comes when trust in God is failing. Anxiety comes when trust in God is failing. We're not looking to him and trusting him with all our heart. Just to share a few scriptures with you this morning. If you're feeling in a place where you need that little bit more of an injection of trust. Proverbs chapter 3 and verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, we spoke about chazar, to lean on. But we lean on him. We don't lean on our understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Don't be reluctant to commit your life to God. Psalm 37, another famous scripture, verses 4 and 5. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Most of the people going into this hospital this morning, many of them are not going to know Jesus. They're not going to know his trust. They're not going to know his power. And to not have him in your heart. For me, can you imagine? Once you've got the Lord, you try and imagine yourself without him. It's probably even more of a sense of despair than people that have never known him in the first place. That just crosses my mind. Another thing we spoke about in our Bible study at that time was putting our minds on other methods of deliverance. Don't put your mind on other methods of deliverance. Look to the Lord. Look to him only. And we looked there in Isaiah 26 and verse 3. And it was this: Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Perfect peace. Knowing that whatever the outcome, we can know that it's going to be for our benefit. One of the greatest things that helps us to understand trust is praising God. When we praise God, we lift ourselves to him. We release ourselves to him. Not just in prayer, but in praise. Knowing that he is the God that created everything. Therefore, he knows my body inside out. He knows that right now my blood isn't quite at the right level of thinness that it should be at. It's a little bit sticky. And so these medications, they to some extent help. But I'm trusting that God himself, who knows my body, is going to bring about the outcome that is the desirous one. Another important fact is this: once you've put your trust in God, don't take it back. Don't take back from God what you've already given him. When you've put yourself in his hands, he understands, he knows, he's accepted you. Another statement that I wrote down is this: faith is the bridge, trust is the action of walking. We believe, so we do. I'll read it again. Faith is the bridge, and trust is the action of walking on the bridge. We believe, and so we do. We expect when we believe, don't we? We expect an outcome. We step out. And that's the question to you today. Are you prepared to step out today and trust God for something that you never have before? there's a challenge, isn't it? There's always a challenge in living the Christian life. It's not a bore, is it? It's not something that's mundane. So if there's something in your life that you've never put your trust in God for, say, Lord, today I'm going to take this out of my hands and I'm going to put it into yours. The book of Hebrews, of course, is a great book, isn't it, for faith and trust, especially chapter 11. And just 3 verses I want to share from chapter 11 of Hebrews. Verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed. And he went out, not knowing whither he went. Verse 23. By faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. Verse 30. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down, after they were compassed about 7 days. They stepped out in faith, and remember, their trust was in the action. They trusted, and so they walked. Peter walked on the water. Yes, he sank, but in that moment, when he saw the face of Jesus, he was prepared to trust in him and to trust that he wouldn't sink. Faith and trust working together. Finishing up with this final verse, Psalm 20, verse 7. Some trust in chariots and some in horses. Say some in tanks, some in bullets. But we will remember the name of the Lord our God. That's who we put our trust in ultimately. I thank God for the skill of medicine. I know that the negative side of medicine, we've seen that over the last 2 years, and how we've seen the shame of many doctors doing the complete opposite to do no harm, to actually doing harm. But there are still many, many parts of the medical profession that are doing good work. And there are many people still working in the medical profession who are doing good work. But I don't want to sing their praises this morning. I want to sing the praises of God. Put my trust in him, and knowing that in him there's favor. And that, as I said before, if there's something you haven't trusted God for, then make that a challenge today. Say, Lord, today I haven't put this in your hands before, but I'm going to now. That dog knew what was wrong with that lady, and sometimes God gives instincts to an animal, but he's given us discernment. He's given us that ability to be able to know that he is there and that he'll never let us down if we cling to him and lean on him and hope in him. Have a blessed day.